big round of applause to the Commissioner for that great introduction and everything. Big round of applause to all of you all. Es un gran honor estar aquí con ustedes. I grew up in very humble beginnings, originally from Monterrey, Nuevo León. My parents were migrant workers, worked in California and throughout the United States. And one thing that my parents always taught me is the importance of treating everyone with dignity and respect, and to working hard. And here in the United States, we know that LULAC is one of the oldest and most successful civil rights organizations for all Latinos here in the United States. So it is such an honor and privilege to be here with each and every one of you all. As you all know, part of the economic and social mobility of the Latino community, one of the key areas is education. So as I grew up in Houston, when I was a student at the University of Houston, I got the opportunity to meet Lorenzo Cano, Dr. Tacho Mignola, who were founders of the Mexican American Studies Department there. And there was a gentleman by the name of Jose Gutierrez, which you all may know, and he was running for Senate, and he came and talked to us. And he said it was real important that Latinos get together and make sure that we were eligible to vote and make sure that we vote. And not only that, but for us to encourage other Latinos and Latinas to ensure that we were out there in the polls. And that started my path to seeing the importance of politics that we play in the Latino community. But for me, I served as an English teacher. And when I served as an English teacher, I also sponsored a club called La Raza Student Alliance. And so it's such an honor to know that we have teachers here in Grand Prairie ISD that do the work that I once did as well, and that I totally believe in. And so I come here to Grand Prairie ISD to make sure that we continue to champion education. One of the things that we have is we want to make sure that we have extended after-school opportunities for all students, that we have a curriculum that's culturally relevant to all our students, and then we can make sure that we have a quality teacher, bilingual teacher in every classroom. And I'm proud to say that 30 days ago when I started in Grand Prairie, we had a lot of vacancies in bilingual ed and teacher vacancies. And right now we have 0 bilingual teacher vacancies in Grand Prairie. We also want to invest in our own, and we want to make sure that our teachers, that we use our fund balance to invest in our teachers to provide master's and doctorate opportunities so that they can also elevate their education. But we know that a lot of times our teachers have families, they have expenses, and for us to be able to do that, we're going to have to provide those economic means for them. So that is something that is really important to our school board and myself. And so we're going to make sure that we grow our own so that we can continue to cultivate more and more educators so that more students can have the opportunity to receive dual credit classes. The reason we were able to become an A in Far San Juan Alamo, where 93% of the students are economically qualified for free and reduced lunch, is because we have educators that had the master's degrees. We had educators that believed in our students. And so we want to continue to cultivate that group of educators in Grand Prairie ISD so that we can continue to cultivate that success. So it's an honor and privilege to be here with each and every one of y'all. I have been visiting schools, and I have the honor of having a teacher provide me a painting of one of her students that she had of 2 people that were bracero workers. And it's just an honor and privilege as I visit different schools to see how important it is for them to see a fellow Latino that's serving as the superintendent. That is something that I want to continue to show that we can be in positions of leadership. We can make great decisions for our community, and we will continue to be successful when we help each other in that manner. So it's an honor and privilege to be here, and if there's any questions or comments from anyone, you can count on me to continue to champion education for all students.
Any questions?
Thank you all very much.
So I'm an educator also, middle school math. As we ask every single superintendent, who comes up here, how are you fighting for the increased funding for the student enrollment?
How are we doing?
How are you fighting for what's your, I guess, how are you going to try and get increased enrollment from Governor Abbott?
Governor Abbott.
The funding.
Okay, so the funding, so for us, that is something that we want to champion. We have not had any increase in funding in the last 4 or 5 years. Every time we had a legislative session, as you all know, we're leaning on our state representatives and our senators to represent education. So anything I can do to be there, I want to make sure that we continue to advocate. The last 4 or 5 years, what we've seen is a decrease in funding, because if you think about all the increases that we have had, insurance has gone up, the cost of living has gone up. I have employees coming to us telling us, you know, how in many cases they can no longer afford the insurance, and so we're using all the resources that we can, but we're really going to need everybody here throughout the state to understand that vouchers is only going to take away from public education, and it's not going to support the increase in student allotment that we need in our public education. So that's something that we want to continue to support public education.
Hello, I'm Andy De Los Santos with Texas LULAC, Deputy Director for LGBT. And I want to ask you, with recent disbanding of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives across the state, what are your plans to continue to empower students of different cultures and to protect LGBT youth?
Absolutely. When we say we care about all students, we mean all students. And so we want to make sure that we provide and encourage sponsors on our campus and provide those equity and inclusion programs. We had a student reach out to me recently, and we quickly assigned someone to make sure that we provide that support there on the campus for equity and inclusion. Absolutely. Thank you for that question.
Buenos días, también de Monterrey, Nuevo León. 24 años trabajando para el Distrito Escolar de Gran Prairie y el DIC. Bienvenido a Gran Prairie, bienvenido.
Gracias.
Tengo 24 años trabajando en las escuelas como secretaria. Solamente en mi escuela somos 20 paraprofesionales que trabajamos directamente con las maestras. Mi pregunta es, nosotros que vinimos como yo que vine de México, que tuve que hacer mi GED para poder trabajar de paraprofesional, ¿tenemos alguna esperanza para que el distrito nos apoye con becas para continuar nuestros estudios o solamente se va a apoyar a los másters?
Se vamos a apoyar a todos. Ahorita tenemos un programa para apoyar a los que tienen su GED y su diploma. Queremos apoyarlos para que puedan ganar su associates y también su degree. A todos nuestros empleados. Gracias por esa pregunta.
Muchas gracias, maestro.
Claro que sí, eso es algo muy importante. Queremos en cada nivel que haya un paso para cada empleado, para que ellos puedan aspirar para el segundo paso, ¿verdad? Porque si nosotros invertimos en ustedes, vamos a tener mejores resultados.
El presidente del Colegio Comunitario de Dallas, que lo tuvimos aquí presente, nos dijo que con nuestra experiencia nos podía dar créditos, porque hemos trabajado en educación. Entonces, si se apoya para hacer los últimos 2 años de colegio, también se puede apoyar para que empecemos el colegio.
Eso.
Gracias, maestro.
Eso.
Mr. Ray De Los Santos, come on, Ray.
Want to use my mic?
No, go ahead. Thank you, Ray.
Buenos dias, and first off, I want to start with a bienvenida on North Texas. I was at the reception that most of the community came, welcomed you just this week, and it was a great opportunity to meet you. And I want to say thank you for taking the opportunity to come and meet LULAC. We are here, we're advocates for education. I'm personally the director for the LULAC National Educational Service Centers. We offer scholarships in partnership with our Grand Prairie Council and many other services and support for the community. My question to you is focused around those that are always the most vulnerable and the most left behind. We constantly hear questions from the community, those bilingual education students especially, that are in the schools and they don't really get the support that they need. How are you going to be an advocate for those people? I know you just started, but how are you going to be an advocate for those families in particular to make sure that they get the services that they need?
Thank you very much. This is a very important question. Very important question. First, let me remind everybody that I was an ESL student as well. And I have visited schools throughout the Houston area, throughout the Texas area. And one of the things that I always look for is to see how are we taking care of our emerging bilingual students. And that is why to me it's real important that every student has a quality teacher in the classroom. And so when I first came on board, they said, well, we can't find bilingual teachers. Well, right now, we're 100% staffed with bilingual teachers. So the first thing we have to do is make sure that we're 100% staffed. And the second thing we have to do is make sure that they have rigorous curriculum. When I was a teacher in high school, we had a student fresh from Mexico, and they wanted to put her in classes that were not advanced classes. She was an advanced student. Well, we were able to make sure that she stayed in the advanced program. We worked with her to improve her English, and then she was valedictorian of that high school, first generation ESL student. So what we want to do is we never want to take away opportunities from our students just because of a language. We want to see that as an opportunity so they can have two languages. Something that the board and I are very interested in is expanding our dual language program so that students can graduate with a biliteracy diploma. So they'll valen por dos, ¿verdad? Si hablan los dos idiomas, sabemos la importancia de eso. So that's something that I want to champion, and I look forward to getting all of you all support in those efforts, because as you all know, sometimes when you start to want to expand opportunities for our population, sometimes people see that we're taking away from others, but this is not to take away from others, but rather to make sure that we provide that equitable education for all. So thank you.
Excellent, excellent question, Connie, and after that, Doc. Yeah.
Buenos días. Welcome to Grand Prairie, welcome to Garland, welcome to the North Texas area. We are so proud to have you here. I had the honor of meeting you at the convocation on Tuesday, and I truly love your speech to your staff. I believe in what you're doing to cultivate, elevate, and graduate every single one of our students. I'm here to ask you the question. I just want to piggyback on the question that she asked you about, how are you going to help staff to continue their education? How can they get that information? Where can they go to get that information? Because I understand, I'm a retired. Okay, I'm retired. So I see a lot of us older ladies retiring, older teachers retiring. So we should be able to reach down and help these ladies that want to continue education, that care and that truly want to be teachers, to show them and to guide them into that direction. Thank you very much for being here.
Yes, no, absolutely. Absolutely. We're setting up a teacher advisory, superintendent teacher advisory, and as well as an employee advisory committee, so that way I can be able to make sure that we're communicating and we're listening to all our employees. So that's something that we're setting up right now, and so thank you for that.
Hola, maestra también de Monterrey, Olga. Welcome to North Texas. Are you planning any program or place? Are you thinking about banning the cell phone as a security matters? A lot of the school districts are planning to ban a cell phone and any other security issues in the school district. Do you have any plan? This is another question after this.
Yes, right now we're piloting the Yonder Bank. We're piloting that at the two high schools that we have, the two comprehensive high schools, South Grand Prairie and Grand Prairie High School. And we have community meetings set up so that we can listen to parents, so that as we roll this out, we make sure that we have a good rollout for using the Yonder package, so that we do not have cell phones during the day. As you all know, there are many programs and softwares that are on our cell phones that our students who are have young developing minds are susceptible to, and so we want to make sure that we focus on them interacting with each other, and that they are paying attention to their teacher, and that they're engaged in the project so that they can be much more academically
This
successful.
is another question. Are you having any program in place
nowadays we're thinking about the newcomers, new immigrants. A lot of our parents from other Latin American countries, they don't speak English. Any plan for them to introduce to the school system in the United States? A lot of the new kids, immigrants, talk English. Do you have any plans about it? Thank you.
Yes, no, thank you. We're definitely open to any type of areas that we can support all students, including our newcomers. And so I am assessing our newcomer program and any areas that we can do to continue to improve, and that's what we want to do.
Okay, Dr. Macario Hernandez, and our last
El mero
question.
mero.
El mero mero, and then el mero mero.
Just, I met you the other day, and it's great. It's an honor. I want you to know, thank you, Commissioner Dr. Garcia, for setting this forum up. And I just want to share with you that while we have all these questions, I want you to know that there's also an apoyo here for you. Other people you see here are supporting you, are ready to have your back at any time. I want you to know that first. So, we got to hit you with the questions, but we all have your back. So I have South Grand Prairie.
Be stronger.
That's right. I got South Grand Prairie and I got Grand Prairie as P-Techs at my college right now in Mountain View, right? And so I want to continue to grow those programs. But, I hear the issues about education and some of the paraprofessionals want to come in. Maybe you and I can get together, if you can put me on the advisory committee so we can come up with a plan and maybe we can fund that and find a way to pipeline that. And so I know we do big meeting, I think we have a funny court, and we have a bachelor's degree now for the first time. We have a bachelor's for early child development, and we get certified in our own way. So I just wanted to see if you would extend that. And the P-Tech side is the AAT for the kids, a teacher pipeline, you have nursing and public health, but then also think about the adults.
But whatever, you and I are going to be best friends. Whatever you have, because if you think about it, the ultimate is for us to be able to finish at that level. For me to be able to partner with him, that's what you're all going to see, is a seamless partnership for all our students and our staff. Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent. Our last question, our last national president of LULAC, Dr. Hector Flores.
I'd like to offer an idea. See if you're interested.
Everybody,
We have your attention, please, for just a minute.
attention please, respect. Let's go.
Why would you, LULAC would like to convene a meeting where we get all the Hispanic superintendents and directors together to see how we can work together. That's number one. Number two, we have a scholarship program that we give scholarships among other things. Ray is one of the key guys here in North Texas. The other thing is we're always interested in procurement. How our Hispanic-owned businesses are able to access also the opportunity to do business with the school system, yours in particular. So perhaps maybe at another time we can sit down with you, bring some ideas of what we'd like to do, and see if we can get a little group going together so we can upgrade our children so they can go to the moon, like Jose Hernandez.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good.
Jose
Excellent.
Hernandez is coming November 7th to Mountain View College. Jose Hernandez, just
Okay, he's coming there. I'll bring my students there. There we go.
You got it. And also, we can do that meeting at Mountain View.
There you go.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, thank you, and we have two meetings coming, one with Dr. Macario Hernandez, Dr. Arredondo, and another one with LULAC. So let's give a round of applause to our new Grand Prairie Superintendent, Dr. Arredondo. Bienvenido, muchísimas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Our next speaker is Dr. Tiffany Clark. She is running for State Board of Education District 13. Dr. Tiffany Clark is a dedicated educator and community leader with extensive experience in conflict solution, counseling, and educational management. She holds a doctorate of education in conflict resolution from Abilene Christian University, a master's of education in counseling from the University of North Texas, and a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology from the University of Houston. Dr. Clark is the School Relationships Manager at Communities in Schools, where she fosters district partnerships and executes events, including training and presentations. She also serves as an adjunct professor at UNT Dallas, teaching graduate courses in literacy, special populations, and professional teaching. Let's give a round of applause. And LULAC, welcome to Chorizo and Menudo to Dr. Tiffany Clark.
Good morning, everyone. want to thank Dr. Garcia, Dr. Flores, and of course Joey Rodriguez for inviting me out to come today. Thank you all. I am running for State Board of Education District 13. That includes Dallas, DeSoto, Duncanville, Lancaster, Grand Prairie, parts of Arlington, parts of Fort Worth, and Mesquite, Crowley, and Irving. District 13 is large. So, we have a precinct chair election Saturday, August 10th. So if you know any precinct chairs, please make sure they have received the information. It came out from the Texas Democrat Party. As some of you may know, Aisha Davis currently holds this seat. Aisha has moved to House District 109. So while she is leveling up, her seat is now vacant. I would love the opportunity to continue to serve students across the state of Texas. As Dr. Garcia said, my background is in education. I have been a teacher, a counselor, and an adjunct professor. And with my role at Communities in Schools, I am the school relationship manager. So I serve 14 school districts across 112 campuses right now. Large. However, there is work that needs to be done on the state level. I served 2 years as a DeSoto ISD school, 2 terms as a DeSoto ISD school board trustee from 2017 to 2023. Some of the programs that I championed while on the DeSoto ISD school board was I made sure to pass African American Studies and Mexican American Studies because that was the population in DeSoto ISD. And our students need to know their own history. Another program that I championed was mental health days for our staff. So what does that look like? We know educators, we only get 10 days, 5 from your districts, 5 from the state level. So in DeSoto ISD, they actually have an additional 3 days now, which can be used strictly for mental health. Your teachers cannot pour into students if they are not mentally okay themselves. That is a real testament to burnout. So I've advocated for that policy to be in DeSoto ISD and it is still being utilized. So, on the state level, what is it that I plan to do? Of course, continue to fight for mental health for staff and students. One thing I noticed in my role as a school counselor is that we will have students leave schools to go to behavioral hospitals, right? But there is no educator trained to help them get the materials they need because they're focused on their mental health while they're at the hospital. But the problem is when they come back to school, guess what? They're overwhelmed. They have anxiety again, they're stressed out, and the cycle repeats itself. So on the state level, how can we advocate truly for mental health professionals to not only be in the schools full time, but also a stronger pipeline for those students when they do return back to campuses? So that's one of the first things I'm going to fight for on the state board level. Secondly, thank you. Secondly, I'm going to continue to advocate that while we can't use the term diversity, equity, inclusion, I am going to continue to advocate and fight for diverse and culturally aware, right? Because I know how to wordsmith and make sure that we are making sure that all populations, all cultures are represented. We are not going to put one religion in textbooks. We are not going to do that. Because we are a population in Texas that is made up of various religions and cultures, and we need to make sure that we are fighting for that at all times. I'm also going to focus on the banned book crisis and to stop the banned book crisis. When I went through leadership TASB, that is one thing that our group did our capstone project on. We have books like Charlotte Webb on the banned book list. Why is Charlotte Webb on the banned book list? Because they say there's an innate object, the spider, building relationship with this young girl Charlotte. But what you fail to realize is it talks about the importance of not judging a book by the character, and it instills character and life skills that our students today need to know still. Those are things we have to have crucial conversations about. Also, I want to continue to increase our college and career readiness pipeline. One thing DeSoto ISD has recently done was to make sure that the community partners now come into our schools to host job fairs so that we can build grassroots efforts in all of our school districts to ensure that all students have an equal opportunity for employment. Those are things we need to advocate on the state level as well. fight for once elected to State Board of Education District 13. I know that the work has to be done. I know that we have to be able to work across the aisle. I know how to represent our communities in a way that we can all show up. One thing about me is I'm gonna call y'all, I'm gonna text y'all, I'm gonna ask you to show up at the state level because it takes all of us. It doesn't take one person. And if I can't network with you all now, then what good is me going to stay on your behalf and representing your cities each and every time? There is no point. In DeSoto ISD, I was known for blasting out. We have a school board meeting on this day. We need people to show up and talk about it. Because if the community is involved, then there goes our education. If the community is involved, there goes our state. And we see how that's going. So it's time for us to champion together, rally together, and show up and do the work for students day in and day out. Thank you all for your time. I'm open to questions.
There we go. Any questions for Dr. LULAC? Ms. Tony? And then right.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for being here. My name is Connie Kaidi. I'm precinct chair 1709 out of Garland, Texas. I have a question. I understand that you just discussed that DeSoto has 3 additional days that were given to DeSoto. My question is, with all the massive cuts thanks to our beautiful and wonderful guy that sits in that wheelchair, how are we going to propose that this same kind of opportunity is given to the rest of our ISDs within the North Texas area so that everybody, every single school district, because I'm retired and I see now, when I go back to the campuses and recruit, I see the stress that a lot of our teachers are going through and giving them 3 just mental health days so they can sit back and just relax for 1 day, a week, a month, whatever. It would be a big, big thing for all of our ISDs. So if you get elected, how do you propose to bring that to the table?
For sure. So just like I did in DeSoto ISD, I'll start with the teacher group and ask the teachers how do they feel. If they think this is actually even relevant, do they need it? My dissertation is on the retention rate of teachers, so I know that burnout is a real thing and it's needed. So from my dissertation, I also figured out what can we truly do in DeSoto ISD to work with our teachers. So what am I going to do on the state level? In the same component. In all the districts I serve and former retired teachers, we're going to have to galvanize, come down and show up and speak to the matter, right? The problem is we don't have enough people that go down to the state and advocate for the things we want. So we have to truly show up and get it done. And I think it's going to truly take all of us, but through the policy, I'm going to work with our legislators, right? And I'm going to propose it. I'm going to get out there and tell them, we need this and here's the research to ride by it.
I'm a member of the association. Okay, Myra. So that is out to reach out to us and tell us on this day we're going to be there. We need all of you to be there.
Okay?
Thank you. And I'm also going to add you to the committee once I'm elected.
Excellent. Good to work. Okay.
As a 27th year middle school math teacher, I appreciate the 3 days mental health, but for most school districts, my understanding is most school districts don't have 2 days bereavement. So bereavement would be a priority. If your mother, father, brother, sister, son, daughter died, that's more important than you can take a day, 3 days off for that. But that's a follow-up on that. Anyway, my major concern is, since you mentioned your past, is this is not a negative comment toward you, but about how did you deal with the investment in DeSoto ISD as a board member?
You want the real answer?
I want to know how you dealt with it. What was your opinion? How did you go through it and so forth?
I made the motion to fire David Harris.
Okay. Done.
Does that answer your question?
Yep. It's answer.
Hello, Dr. Clark. My name is Josh Mock. I work at Grand Prairie High School. I teach Mexican American Studies for the last 5 years. We currently have 8 sections of this class now. We've not got many students here that have taken the class. I want to ask you, with the attack on ethnic studies, we are currently African American, Indian, Native American class. We are the first campus in Texas to have it, and we've had it for 2 years now. It was on its way to being passed through the state legislature. Now there's crickets. We can't get on the agenda for it. I want to know what you're going to do to help support ethnic studies process.
For sure. Great question. So just like I champion African American studies and Mexican American studies, I do know that Native American studies is on hold and paused right now. So we have to continue to talk about the importance of why that class is important and why it needs to make sure that it's in all of our schools. One thing we talked about at our forum last week was that exact same situation. What are we going to do? We're going to show up, we're going to lobby, and we're going to make sure that it is passed. One thing that the State Board of Education is now responsible for is actually instructional curriculum, right? So that means it's up to us as the State Board of Education trustees to make sure that work is done. While we know in our seat, my seat in particular, I am going to be fighting against the extremists, but guess what? I'm going to call on all of you all to show up and advocate so that not only my voice is heard, but all of our voices is heard. I'm truly going to galvanize because there's only 5 Democrats on state board. So it's going to take more than my voice, and I'm aware of that. I know that I can't do this work alone. So I truly am going to rely and ask that not only am I constantly fighting for it, but that people who actually also have a passion for it show up. We're going to start building more committees. We're going to start figuring out how to utilize some of y'all's professional development days to get down to the state and help advocate. But we have to figure out truly when sessions are and coordinate with some of the schedules to make sure that teachers can get it. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to ask a quick question about your role as a board member at the state level. One of your responsibilities will be to adopting the textbooks that our young people are going to use. And of course, not only when you adopt them in Texas, but they go nationwide because we're the largest buyer of books in the country. Can you speak to what are the topics that you're going to be reviewing the next year and maybe the year after that, and how important it is that your voice be there to represent on some of these issues, especially science and especially social studies. Those are really sometimes very controversial, and we need strong, powerful voices. So how can you be that voice?
So I think sometimes we have to figure out, is the information in the textbooks even still relevant, right? And while they say we can't let go of history, some things we do have to let go of because it's no longer relatable and relevant to our students. Our students aren't even understanding some of the information because it doesn't make sense to them. So for me, as a former science teacher, how can I say, is this actually something in this textbook that my students are going to understand? We have to start thinking about things on a way that our current students can understand and not how we learned it or how our parents learned it, right? So I'm going to say, first of all, is it relevant? Right? That's the first thing I'm going to look through every single time. How relevant is this information? Truly, the second thing we have to figure out is, does it make sense? Right? Can we actually say that it's creative in its work? Are our teachers actually going to be able to conceptualize this information? And are they going to actually be able to then teach it out to ensure that we actually have standards that are aligned to the STAR test? Because if you look, Pearson is making our STAR test every year, which in my opinion are trash. And Michael Grant and I have had that conversation about the STAR test. But the problem is we have to make sure it's first in our teaks, right? So I'm going to fight for better teaks so that our standards can align and we can get better textbooks.
Sounds good. Last question, Honorable Carla.
Dr. Clark, good morning. My name is Brian Parra, proud GPISD School Board Trustee, and also proud Dallas ISD Assistant Principal. My question that I'm about to ask you is from my administrative hat. As an assistant principal, as a bilingual assistant principal, you mentioned your dissertation on burnout. Often as a bilingual assistant principal, I go to campuses where I see no bilingual administration, no bilingual counselors, very few bilingual teachers. What did you do for DeSoto ISD to promote leadership in particular with bilingual students as one of the fastest growing student populations? What did you do in DeSoto ISD? Because in Grand Prairie ISD, we saw the value of recruiting and maintaining our bilingual administrators, counselors by providing stipends, $6,000 stipends, because we knew that our students wanted to see someone that reflected them, but also just the language barrier in particular.
For sure.
So how do you plan to take that to the state?
Great. So I'm glad that you asked number one, because two, the reason why I quit Dallas ISD is because we weren't supporting all students at the campus I worked out. We had not one emerging bilingual teacher on the campus that I recently worked for. That's the reason why I quit Dallas ISD, to be honest. Number two, in DeSoto ISD, I have made sure, well, first of all, we couldn't give stipends because we had an embezzlement, so we lost a lot of money, let's be real clear. However, when I did start working at UNT Dallas, I taught future educators. And because I had a relationship with the superintendent there, I did make sure that she came in and talked to our students, and now several of my UNT Dallas students that are bilingual students are working in DeSoto ISD. So I built that partnership through my classroom still and made sure that we actually got students in DeSoto ISD who look like them and can speak to them and do the work that they need to understand things. So I plan to continue to advocate for that. I think it needs to be done. And truly, as a African American individual, there's not always a lot of us either represented, especially males, in the classroom, which is why DISD has that initiative. But truly, for us, we have to figure out how to work together and stop always thinking we have to be segregated and separated as minorities and come together so that we can truly figure out the importance of building that pipeline and continue to go.
I'm ready to roll with it.
Okay, well, LULAC members, let's give a round of applause to Dr. Chorizo Menudo. As we all know, LULAC votes, remember, at the ballot, at the polling place as well. Okay, sounds good. Our next speaker is a LULAC member, a good friend of Chorizo and Menudo, and is Trustee Ben Mackey. Represents District 7, and he's the first Vice President. Trustee Mackey served as Principal of Dallas ISD School for the Talented and Gifted from 2013 to 2019. During those years, he was also known as the Tag Magnet when the magnet went to the nation's top high school for 4 years. Under Ben's leadership, TAG revamped its application process with focus on quality and access, resulting in the school being recognized as Federal Title I school for the first time. While principal at Talented and Gifted in 2016, Mackey was named a finalist for Dallas ISD Principal of the Year in 2016 and was recognized as Dallas ISD Master Principal in 2018. He was also named the Dallas Business Journal list of 40 under 40 rising young leaders in Dallas and served on the Mayor's Star Council. Mr. Mackey earned his master's degree in School of Leadership from Harvard University and his bachelor's degree in Finance and History from the University of Florida. He's also married to the Honorable Claudia Sandoval, which is a former Cochrane Hill City Councilwoman, someone I know and respect. So with that, let's give a round of applause to the Honorable Ben Mackey, Trustee of
Buenos días a todos. Mi nombre es Ben Mackey. Estoy en la mesa directiva de Dallas ISD. I have the honor of representing District 7, which is this area that we're in right here on the Dallas ISD School Board and serving as the current Vice President. I'm here today to update you on a number of big things happening in Dallas ISD, and of course, like always, would love all the questions that you have. But first, I want to shout out our schools right here in Dallas ISD and in District 7. So specifically, I want to start with our two early colleges here, Trinity Garza Early College and Lassiter Early College. I had the honor of attending both of those graduations this spring, where both schools graduated 100% of graduates with associate's degrees. I would be remiss not to shout out the former principal of Trinity Garza Early College, Dr. McCarthy. But we also have 3 competitions comprehensive high schools, Adamson, Sunset, and Molina, 3 of the top rated high schools in Dallas ISD. Specifically, Adamson and Sunset both have master principals who lead their schools, and Adamson was rated the #1 comprehensive high school in Dallas ISD. And finally, one more shout out on that. Molina High School, which candidly over the last couple of years have been not one of our highest performing. This year, they turned, so if you all are familiar with the TSI, ACT, and SAT readiness, our district average of students getting ready is about 26%, which is a high bar, but it's not where it needs to be. This year, Molina went to over 50% of their graduating class now. Jacob Liggins deserves a huge shout out for that. So that's some of what's happening in the schools here, but I want to update you on some bigger picture Dallas ISD things that have happened over the last couple months. First, that's on top of everyone's mind, is budget. So as you all know, the ESSER funding from the federal government went away, and like a lot of school districts around the state, Dallas ISD had to make some significant cuts. We cut over $400 million of budget this year, but we're able to do so without closing schools, and without shutting down drastic programs or riffing or taking away from teachers. In fact, we were able to make those cuts and increase minimum wage to $16.50 and to add over 80 mental health counselors and support professionals. So that was a huge win on that. I want to thank Representative Terry Mesa and some of her colleagues who fought to get school finance funding passed through the houses in the legislature only to be killed at the end. So if funding had been added, we wouldn't have had to make those kind of cuts. So we are still hopeful this year that we'll get some funding for public education coming through. The second thing I want to touch on is the budget obviously impacts a lot of things we have happen in the district. And one of, if not the most important element of our school system is our teachers. And so this year, I'm proud to announce that, well, first of all, over the last 2 years, for the first time in decades, Dallas ISD had a higher teacher retention rate than the state, than the county, and in the region. So that is a huge win for Dallas ISD. In fact, Dallas ISD this year is at an all-time low on teacher turnover rate since the pandemic and many years before that. So really excited to see that happen. And then finally, our bond. So those of you all familiar, there's a lot of work happening on schools across our district. Some here in District 7 that are about to finish up. So first of all, Sunset, if you haven't gone by Sunset, there's a few small things left, but Sunset is essentially done with its big renovation. It looks phenomenal. Go up and visit that. LK Hall and Peabody Elementary School are both about to be complete on schedule. We did have a delay at Rosemont Upper that will delay it 6 months, unfortunately, but it should be ready by next school year as we move forward. So it's great to see that type of investment in our community. And then finally, the most important update, and it comes with an ask to all of you before we go to questions, is Dallas ISD started this journey about a little over 10 years ago, where the board decided we were going to set meaningful goals for the superintendent and hold the super accountable to those goals and give her the protection that she needs to accomplish those goals. And it's resulted in huge gains in student achievement and in culture across our district from both students and staff. But those goals are about to expire. And so this fall, the board will be embarking in what I believe to be the most important role of the school board, is to define what the goals for Dallas ISD should be for the next 5 years. And that automatically will tie directly into our superintendent evaluation, and that will dictate how we spend our money going forward. But we can't do this, and board members should not do this without hearing from you, the community. And so this fall, we're going to start this process next week in designing what it looks like. But throughout this fall, we are going to be coming back to the community. I assume we will also be coming back, and I will make it a point to come back here to ask you what you want to see for your students across Dallas ISD and what they want to achieve. We're going to take that all into account as we set this next iteration of 5-year goals for Dallas ISD. And we cannot do that without your help. So I will look forward to coming back, talking with each and every one of you. We'll probably do that over 2 months, probably in the October and November timeframe. And it's going to be an incredibly important process. So with that, I just want to thank you for everything you do to support your students, schools, communities, for everything you've done to support Dallas ISD. Super excited about the work happening in Grand Prairie ISD. All of the students in Dallas County, and frankly, across the state, are our students. And anything we can do to support Grand Prairie ISD, DeSoto ISD, wherever else, it is our role to do this together, and I look forward to that continued partnership. So thank you all so much.
Any questions?
Joe.
Yes. What's the update on the fight with the student enrollment allotment with Abbott and the private school vouchers?
Yeah, great point. So, as you all might know, Dr. Elizalde, our superintendent, was an absolute warrior over the last session, galvanizing superintendents from all around the state to fight against vouchers and to fight for more funding for schools. And frankly, played a major role in the fact of helping it get to the point where it did not pass for the vouchers last year. She is continuing to fight this year. Candidly, the politics in the last election make it much more likely that vouchers are going to pass, but it's not a done deal yet. If people get out and vote, and people go and continue to fight for their representatives. So let's hope that that happens. I know Dr. Elizalde will continue to fight for that and continue to fight for school funding, as will the board. But again, like Dr. Clark mentioned, it takes all of us to continue to raise our voices on that. And also, Joe, you raised a good point earlier that I also want to touch on, that I know people have questions on, around cell phones. This is what I didn't talk about, but this is something that's come up quite a bit. So while Dallas ISD is an enormous and very diverse district with a lot of different schools and communities wanting very different things in terms of cell phones, Dallas ISD has created the opportunity for any school and feeder pattern, if the parents and the community wants it in partnership with their school, to go and move forward with the removal of cell phones. We will have 2 feeder patterns piloting it this year that we'll be tracking. And if the outcomes continue to show what it looks like it shows in other places, I do expect a conversation eventually on whether or not we'll take that district-wide.
Good morning, Ben. Thank you for coming here this morning. I guess Dallas being the second largest school system in the state of Texas, about 130 to 140,000 students. But I know they all consume different things. The school system itself. Can you give us an idea of what procurement looks like for the Hispanic community as they try to do business with such a big billion-dollar industry?
Yep. So procurement is an area that Dallas ISD has candidly had some issues on in the past, and it's been an area of intense focus as we move forward. We actually rewrote our procedures around procurement just 2 or 3 years ago to try to incentivize the kind of work and create more opportunities. Our MWBE district or office has done incredible work, and they are always available. They are working with vendors across the spectrum. I've had a number of vendors reach out to me, and as a board member, I can't engage with a vendor and help them do anything. But I've connected them with our MWBE department, and without fail, everyone says that's been incredibly helpful. And so they actually sit down and work with vendors, whether they're a new vendor, whether they're a large vendor that can't get in, and they help them understand the process, understand the hoops, because there are candidly a lot of hoops in this. And so they really do work with them. They have fairs across the state. So if anyone wants connections to our MWBE department, they've been incredibly helpful in working with those vendors and we've been before.
The second part of my question would be how we're doing with H-1B and J-1 hiring in the country.
Yeah, so the H-1B visas and making sure that we get the best teachers wherever they happen to be, whether they're anywhere in the world. Dallas ISD is an offer and a provider of H-1B visas and continues to be. I also want to say one of the things that I am super excited about that's been in the works for a long time, but it takes time, is this homegrown development. We have all the teaching staff we need right here in our schools today. And making sure that we create these easy pipelines through partners like Dallas College, who, by the way, you can get your bachelor's degree at Dallas College and get paid to do it, and come back and be a teacher. So we're going to continue to invest in the H-1B visas as well as our homegrown initiatives.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Hernandez.
All right, thank you. Trustee, appreciate you being here today. What I talked about, exactly what we're talking about, in 2 years, Dallas College is going to try to produce almost 400 to 500 teachers coming out of the early college. This is going to be one of the biggest grow your own programs that ever occurred. So, what we want to do that with partnerships with Grand Prairie and Dallas and Solo. We would love to make real partnerships and create pipelines across the league and collect that data so we can get more funding for that. But this is a real big movement that's happening. I just wanted to see kind of your thoughts on it, and I hope you can really do something and put it on paper, whether it's a resolution or something. Could you got any ideas on that?
Yes, I do. So this might be, I'm sure some folks in the room are very familiar with a bill that I think was actually a very good bipartisan bill that passed at the legislature last session. I think it passed almost unanimously by one vote, is HB 8, which reoriented community college funding, put huge amounts of investments in community colleges, but also made dual credit access free for the vast majority of students. And so there is tons of opportunity now to create seamless pathways. I think in the past, and what we've done for a long time, is create these early colleges where some students had access to. I would love to see us deepen that, and when we talk about Molina having 50% of kids, graduates, ready to go to college, why is it not the default that students are automatically going to community college? If they want to go to a 4-year, great, Godspeed. But that's less than 10% of kids across most places. We're talking about 50% of kids who don't end up going because that pathway hasn't been built. So I would love to see us not just build early college programs, but build high school community college partnerships, where that is the expectation, that if you're not deciding to go to a 4-year, which you should still have all the opportunities to do, every kid moves through, because they can now get down significant more funding for the community college and be on a much better path for whatever they want to do next. So I'd love to see that explored.
Thank you, Ben. And you know, like we said before when we talked about this before, the bilingual teachers, we're going all the way to Spain to find them. They're right here in Jefferson, Westmoreland, Parker Hill, Plainfield. They're all over the place. They're in Grand Prairie. We don't have to go across the sea to find bilingual teachers. They're in our own backyard. You know how to discuss this. And I got to share a side story with Ben. When he first started running many years ago, we had a conversation. I said, I can't publicly endorse you because, you know, he was fairly new. And I told him, but I can get you connected. He wanted to connect to the Latino community. So we set up like 12 to 15 lunches and breakfasts. He took them all. Not only did he take them all, he convinced everybody he talked to of how passionate he was about serving the Latino community issues specifically in this particular area, and serving the whole community, no matter where you're from, whether the African Americans and some of the people here and everybody from this group. He proved himself. I did tell him though, this is a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood, and I said, can you help find someone in the future so you can help get in the future to see? Well, I think he took it too serious because he ended up marrying a very politically active Latina. And he married a politically active Latina, so welcome. He has no more power at the household for sure. But welcome to the club, Ben, and we love you and we appreciate you. And I fully endorse you now.
Welcome to the Macario stand-up hour. Thank you all so much. Muchas gracias.
Gracias. Un aplauso para nuestro representante Ben Maki. I also want to recognize the Honorable Terry Mesa, who walked in, State Representative Terry Mesa. Grand Prairie Independent School Board, David Espinosa. David. And of course, Carmen Garcia, our representative for the city of Dallas, for being here. Thank you for joining us. And now our next speaker is someone I have the honor of working for several years, is Mr. Jason Romaine. Jason Romaine is the Dallas County Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer. Mr. Romaine currently serves as Dallas' first Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer. Previously, he served on Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins' staff. He had worked with the National Democratic Institute for International Affairs in Colombia, South America, where he supported the inclusion and underrepresented groups with the leadership ranks of political parties and worked with civil society organizations to advocate for efforts such as the approval of the nation's first anti-discrimination law. Jason holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Georgia, a master's degree from the University of Texas at Austin, and an executive certification in diversity, equity, and inclusion from Georgetown University. Proud of Afro-Latino that speaks 4 languages. I am very, of course Spanish is one of them, right, Jason? And it's been an honor working with him. I saw him work, during our COVID-19 pandemic with Dallas County. Young, energetic, committed, and more importantly, with diversity and inclusion in his heart. So let's give a LULAC welcome to Mr. Jason Romero, first Chief of Diversity and Inclusion for Dallas County.
Good morning, everyone. Muy buenos días a todas y a todos. Es un gusto estar aquí hoy día. And thank you so much, Dr. Garcia, Mr. Garcia, he's not here today, but for everything that you do for the community. So, I am originally from Colombia, South America.
¡Que viva Colombia!
Mexico is it?
I ended up here in Texas because my wife grew up here.
Lorena!
She mentioned her name. Her name's Lorena, and I get that a lot in places. They're like, "Are you Lorena's husband?" And so that's kind of my claim to fame. Yes, her name is Lorena Romain. Actually, I should say Dr. Lorena Romain.
Yes,
because she just got her doctorate this year, May of this year. So.
Yes.
She probably would have joined me here today, but my son had a soccer game, so she's over there with him. But yeah, still getting used to having a doctor in the house as well. So, but yeah, this position of the Chief Equity Inclusion Officer was created by Dallas County after the murder of Mrs. George